Welcome to Mr. English Hub. I'm your host, Paul, and alongside me is our expert, Rachel.
Hello, everyone.
So I want you to imagine this scenario. You are at a beautiful wedding.
Oh, I think I know exactly the kind of situation you're setting up here.
You probably do. So you're holding a plate. You have just taken this massive, indulgent bite of chocolate cake.
Naturally.
Right. And suddenly, a stranger turns to you, extends a hand, and says, "So tell me about yourself."
Oh no, total panic.
Total panic. Your brain freezes, your heart rate spikes, and you are just trapped somewhere between swallowing dessert and trying to summarize your entire existence.
It's the worst feeling.
It really is. And today's deep dive is an exploration of that exact, universal, and, let's be honest, often dread-inducing scenario.
Yeah, based on a great transcript from the Mr. English channel.
Exactly. We're going to extract the fundamental anatomy of a perfect, low-stress personal introduction from that source.
Because whether you're prepping for a high-stakes corporate meeting or attending a networking event,
Or just trying to chat with the new neighbor next door,
right, getting this right doesn't require a master's degree in public speaking or like an encyclopedic vocabulary.
Not at all. In fact, by the end of this deep dive, we're going to uncover why talking about your badly behaved pet, or simply admitting out loud that you are terrified, can actually be your single biggest social advantage.
It really is the ultimate loaded question, isn't it? I mean, tell me about yourself sounds incredibly innocent on the surface.
Yeah, just a casual icebreaker.
But it carries this immense amount of psychological weight. And what makes this so fascinating to analyze in our deep dive today is how frequently we completely misunderstand the assignment.
We really do. When someone asks us to introduce ourselves, our immediate instinct is to treat it like a hostile interrogation.
Yes, we assume we're being judged on our credentials or eloquence or status.
Right, like we have to defend our right to be in the room.
Exactly. But in reality, an introduction is simply an invitation to connect.
But we feel this intense, almost crushing pressure to impress right out of the gate. It's as if we have to summarize our professional worth and our deepest life philosophies in like 30 seconds or less.
Which is impossible, obviously.
Completely impossible. But before you can charm anyone or win them over, you have to establish who you are without overcomplicating the interaction. The core takeaway from the source here is that the biggest mistake people make is trying to sound overly sophisticated.
They try too hard.
Way too hard. You just need to start with the absolute basics, your name and your location.
I love the sports analogy you usually use for this.
Oh, the game of catch. Yeah. Imagine a conversation as a game of catch. If I walk up to you and immediately hurl a 50-pound medicine ball at your chest,
I'm going to drop it.
you're going to drop it. Right. And that's basically what happens when you dump your entire life story and your complex job description on a stranger. It's too heavy.
Way too heavy.
You have to start by gently tossing a light tennis ball. Just your name and where you are from. It gives the other person a chance to actually catch it and get ready for the game.
That medicine ball analogy, it perfectly captures the mechanics of cognitive load.
Cognitive load, right?
Yeah, when you meet someone new, both of your brains are working in overdrive. The primitive part of the human brain is rapidly scanning the environment, basically asking, is this person a friend or a foe?
Are they safe to talk to?
Exactly. And if you immediately launch into this complex, jargon-filled monologue about your career in, navigating global financial systems.
You're just drastically increasing the cognitive load for the listener.
Right. They have to work so hard just to understand your sentence structure, which makes them feel subconsciously tense.
So by starting with the foundational facts, just who is standing in front of them and where they came from, you're signaling low threat status.
You keep the cognitive load incredibly light, which lets the other person physically relax around you.
There's actually a brilliant story in the source material that illustrates exactly how this plays out in the real world.
Oh, the park story.
Yes. So there's this woman named Emily, and she was at a local park. She spots a stranger sitting nearby, but Emily gets completely distracted because this stranger has an incredibly cute, small, white dog with very long ears.
I mean, who wouldn't get distracted?
Right. So Emily walks right up, completely ignores the human being holding the leash, and greets the dog first. She literally says, "Hello, little friend, you are so beautiful."
Which is so common. We gravitate toward the pet because a dog doesn't require us to perform.
There's no fear of social rejection from a golden retriever.
Exactly. Our brains naturally take the path of least resistance.
But then Emily realizes what she's done. She looks up, and the owner is just staring at her, smiling.
Awkward.
Super awkward. Emily feels totally foolish, but her recovery is what makes this a masterclass.
Because she didn't overcomplicate it.
Exactly.
Right.
She doesn't launch into a massive, breathless apology tour about how she always gets distracted by animals and hasn't had her coffee yet. She just stands up and tosses that light tennis ball.
She just said her name and where she lived, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. My name is Emily. I live just around the corner." And that simple, unpretentious foundation worked magic.
The owner, Susan, immediately caught the ball.
Threw it right back. She shared that she had just moved there from Chicago, and the conversation started effortlessly.
And Emily's recovery worked because she lowered the barrier to entry. She used plain, simple language.
Plain English is so important.
It's a point that cannot be overstated, especially when you are communicating in a second language or talking about your profession.
Plain English is always a superior social strategy to complex vocabulary.
Yeah, take the example of the man from France sitting at a local cafe that the source mentions.
Right, his English was far from perfect.
Right, but he didn't try to construct a flawless, grammatically complex sentence like, "I am currently spending my annual vacation exploring your fine city."
That would just sound weird anyway.
It would. He just smiled warmly and said, "I am here for holiday. I love this city."
And everyone understood him perfectly. The listener wasn't sitting there with a red pen grading his syntax.
Exactly the opposite. This slightly flawed, simple phrasing was actually a benefit because it was delivered with warmth.
The listener's not evaluating your linguistic prowess. They just want to figure out if you're approachable.
And using simple, plain speaking actually projects a deep, quiet confidence.
Like, I am comfortable enough in my own skin that I don't need to hide behind big words to impress you.
Exactly. It instantly shifts the dynamic from a performative test to a genuine human interaction.
But once that foundation is laid, though, the goal of the introduction has to shift.
Right, you can't just stop at your name.
No, you've tossed the tennis ball, they've caught it, you both know each other's names and cities. Now it's no longer just about transferring data.
It's about opening doors for an actual dialogue to happen.
And the most effective way to do this is by strategically dropping in what I like to call conversation handles.
Conversation handles, I love that term.
Thanks. These are your hobbies, your quirks, or even your pets. You are literally handing the other person a hook they can easily grab onto.
Saving them from the agonizing task of having to invent a follow-up question.
Exactly. It does the heavy lifting for them.
This is where you transition from being a two-dimensional profile into a three-dimensional character.
Yeah. Mentioning free time activities provides an incredibly easy, natural pivot point. Like the student in the source material, Marco.
The guy taking the guitar class.
Right. He introduced himself to the group by stating that he works as a downtown restaurant chef, but in his free time, he wants to learn music because it helps him relax.
That is so rich because it paints a contrast.
A huge contrast.
Yeah.
Being a chef is a high-stress, intense environment. By adding the detail about learning guitar to relax, he isn't just listing a hobby.
He's telling a miniature story about his life.
Exactly. Or consider Emily again. When asked what she likes to do, she shares that she loves hiking in the mountains. But she makes sure to add this wonderful, self-deprecating detail.
Oh, that she's a very slow hiker.
Yes, she admits she is very slow, but notes that being slow is perfectly fine because the mountains don't run away.
That self-deprecation is a really powerful tool. It completely disarms the people around you.
It really does. When you willingly highlight a minor flaw or a quirky trait, you are demonstrating vulnerability.
And vulnerability is magnetic. It tells the listener that you don't take yourself too seriously.
Which gives them permission to drop their own guard and just be human back to you.
Family and pets offer that same immediate warmth. And you don't need to map out your entire family tree.
No, please don't.
Just saying, I have one brother who lives in Canada, is plenty of information for a conversation handle.
But the absolute best example of this strategy from the source is the naughty cat approach.
The naughty cat.
Someone introduces themselves by mentioning they have a remarkably badly behaved cat. Like a cat that literally thinks human dinner is her dinner.
And just confidently jumps right onto the dining room table while they're eating.
Yes. That specific detail makes people laugh instantly.
It reveals you are a cat person, and it gives everyone in the room something funny to picture.
But let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Okay, go for it.
If I am at a serious corporate networking event or stepping into a job interview with a rigid hiring manager,
Right.
isn't there a real danger that sharing quirky details, like my table surfing cat or my slow hiking speeds, backfire and make me seem unprofessional?
It is a completely logical fear. I hear that all the time. But it ignores the reality of human psychology.
How so?
Well, relatability almost always trumps rigid professionalism, even in the most formal workplace environments.
Because hiring managers are still just human beings.
Exactly. Their brains crave narrative and connection just like anyone else's. When you share the naughty cat story in a business setting, you create a memorable anchor in their mind.
You cease to be generic applicant number 5.
Right, or the guy in the blue suit. You become the chef who plays guitar, or the person with the table surfing cat.
That was a pattern interrupt.
A huge pattern interrupt. It shatters that stiff, formal interrogation vibe that usually dominates networking events and builds a bridge for genuine connection.
Because people hire and do business with people they actually like and remember.
Exactly.
I love the idea of a pattern interrupt. But this brings us to the elephant in the room.
Which is?
What happens when things go wrong? Because understanding the concept of a conversation handle is easy when we're just sitting here discussing it.
Oh, sure.
But the real test is navigating the physical and mental roadblocks when the spotlight swings your way and the pressure is suddenly on.
The panic response.
The panic response is a very real, very physical reaction.
It is entirely physiological. When a stranger asks you to introduce yourself in a high-stakes environment, your brain often perceives that social pressure as a literal physical threat.
A threat to your survival.
Yes, your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, essentially hijacks your rational thought process.
It just takes over.
It does. It diverts energy away from your prefrontal cortex, which is where your logic, memory, and complex language skills live.
Which perfectly explains why our brains just seem to delete our actual expertise when we are nervous.
They really do.
There is a story in the source about a guy who, coincidentally, is also named Paul.
Oh, right. Another Paul.
Another Paul. And during his very first major job interview, the manager leaned across the desk and said, "Tell me about yourself."
And his brain just quit.
Completely. Paul was so overwhelmed with nerves that his prefrontal cortex completely shut down. He entirely forgot to mention that he had years of actual hands-on experience in that specific field.
That is so painful.
Instead, his panicked brain just reached for the most basic survival phrases it could find, and he blurted out, "I am hardworking, and I arrive on time."
Oh, wow. He reverted to absolute baseline survival mode.
He really did.
When the amygdala takes over, you experience this overwhelming, almost painful urge to fill the silence immediately.
You feel like if you don't start speaking that exact second, you're going to fail the social encounter.
And that rush is what leads to blurting out obvious platitudes, or worse, making severe physical blunders.
Which brings us right back to the wedding cake disaster we started with.
The chocolate cake guy.
Yes. This poor guy is at a wedding reception, and a woman at his table asks him to introduce himself right as he is chewing a massive piece of chocolate cake.
The worst timing.
And because of that exact amygdala hijack you just described, his brain screams, "Speak immediately."
So instead of just holding up a finger and waiting,
he tries to answer with his mouth totally full.
Yeah.
It is a social catastrophe. He ends up with chocolate smeared all over his teeth, trying to mumble his name.
The woman, thankfully, just laughed and told him to try again when he was finished.
Thank goodness she was cool about it.
Yeah.
But the mechanism to prevent that kind of disaster is surprisingly simple, even if it feels impossible in the moment.
Wait, swallow your food and then smile.
Yes.
That is the pause and smile method, and it is the single most effective way to short-circuit the brain's panic response.
Taking a deliberate 2-second pause feels like an eternity when you're the one under the spotlight.
It feels like an hour, but to the listener, it just looks like you are thoughtfully considering your answer.
And the physical act of smiling during that pause is crucial.
It is. It isn't just about looking polite. Smiling is a biological hack.
I love that. A biological hack.
The movement of those facial muscles actually triggers the release of endorphins and slightly lowers your cortisol levels.
Which helps bring your rational brain back online.
Exactly.
It buys you time with warmth. The smile visually broadcasts the message, "I am happy to talk to you," which secures a couple of crucial seconds of goodwill from the other person.
And it perfectly masks any temporary blankness while your brain reboots and retrieves your foundation information.
But to completely avoid that deer-in-the-headlights panic in the first place, we really need a preparation strategy.
Definitely.
And the most effective approach from our source material relies on a combination of routine, total transparency, and looking forward.
Because preparation is the ultimate antidote to panic.
It really is.
If you don't want your amygdala to hijack your introduction, you have to train your brain to know that this scenario is not a threat. And you do that through repetition.
The recommendation is to build a basic routine. Write out a baseline script of maybe 3 to 4 simple sentences that you are entirely 100% comfortable saying.
Just your name, your city, a quick hobby.
Like a conversation handle.
Right, and your job.
The crucial step is that you have to practice it out loud. Emily, the hiker we mentioned earlier, admitted she used to practice her introduction standing in front of the mirror in her bathroom.
Oh, with her cat, right.
Yeah. She joked that her cat would sit on the edge of the tub and look at her like she had lost her mind. But the repetition worked.
It works because practicing out loud creates a neurological pathway. You are building muscle memory for your vocal cords and your brain.
I have to be completely honest here, though.
Okay.
If I stand in my bathroom reciting 4 specific lines to my cat over and over again, I am going to sound like a telemarketer reading a script when I finally meet a real human being.
That is a fair point.
Right.
Yeah.
How do we practice a routine without sounding totally robotic and inauthentic?
Well, that is the danger if you treat your introduction like a rigid theatrical monologue that cannot be altered. But the goal of practicing in the mirror isn't to memorize a script verbatim.
It's not.
No, the goal is cognitive offloading. You are establishing a comfortable baseline so that when the adrenaline spikes, you don't have to scramble to remember what to say.
Oh.
Because you already know the basic facts, you can focus all your mental energy on how you are saying it, making eye contact, maintaining warm body language, and being present in the moment.
So you aren't reading a teleprompter, you're relying on a safety net.
Exactly. And the easiest way to ensure you never sound robotic is to employ the tactic of total honesty.
Vulnerability as a strategy. There's a great example of this in the source. A guy walked into a recording studio for the first time to meet his new team.
The guy in the yellow shirt.
Yes, wearing a bright yellow t-shirt, clearly a bit out of his element. And he introduced himself by saying, "I'm going to be your partner on this deep dive. I have to admit I'm a bit nervous right now, but I'm really ready to get to work."
I love that so much.
It's great. Admitting out loud that you are shy or nervous or feeling awkward actually makes the other person feel instantly relaxed.
Because it completely removes the pressure of pretense from the room.
Everyone can just exhale.
Right. When you say, "I'm a bit nervous," you are popping the tension balloon. The listener no longer feels like they have to maintain a perfectly polished facade either.
It is impossible to sound like a rehearsed robot if you are actively displaying that level of in-the-moment vulnerability.
It's so refreshing.
And the final piece of this strategic puzzle is to look forward. Sharing your future dreams or active goals is an incredible conversation handle.
Oh, absolutely. Mentioning that your goal is to travel to Japan next year.
Or that you're actively spending your evenings learning English so you can pivot to a better career path.
It shows the listener that you are not static. You are someone who likes to grow, who has forward momentum.
People are naturally drawn to individuals who are excited about their future.
It shifts the focus from what you have done in the past, which can sometimes feel like a resume review, to where you are going.
And it invites the other person to be a part of your journey, even if it's just by asking, "Oh, why Japan?"
Exactly.
Let's bring all of this together because we unpacked some incredibly valuable psychology today. If you take away anything from this deep dive, let it be this. The perfect introduction is never a comprehensive summary of your life's achievements.
You do not need to prove your entire worth in 60 seconds.
No. The goal is simply to toss a light tennis ball, establish a strong, clear foundation using plain English, just who you are and where you are from.
Lower the cognitive load for the listener.
Then drop in a relatable conversation handle, like a contrast in your hobbies, or the fact that your cat steals your dinner.
And when the panic hits and your amygdala tries to hijack your mouth,
Rely on the biological hack of a deliberate pause and a warm smile.
and perhaps most powerfully, embrace the honesty to just admit when you're feeling a little out of your depth.
Because an introduction is not a performance.
No, it's an opportunity to show someone that you are human, approachable, and ready to connect.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to mull over as you go about your week.
Oh, I like this part.
We've been analyzing introductions as the starting point of connection. But think about it through this lens. If an introduction is the opening scene of your own personal movie, what genre are you unintentionally projecting when you meet someone new?
That's a great question.
When you try to sound overly sophisticated or list off your credentials, are you projecting a tense, high-stakes corporate thriller? Or, by sharing your quirks, your bad habits in a genuine smile? Are you projecting an approachable, warm comedy?
Consider how just a simple shift in the conversation handles you choose to hand out could completely change the type of characters you attract into your daily life.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you walk away feeling a little more prepared, a lot less panicked.
I'm ready to embrace the pause the next time someone extends a hand and asks, "Tell me about yourself."
From both of us here, thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time on Mr. English Hope.